Welcome to the 3DownNation podcast. We're the only podcast in the world that when we're in the same city, we do it in three separate places, fellas.
Well, we couldn't all be jammed with the bed behind us again, like Hamilton a couple of years ago. So Hodge went
JC,
home
this
and
is not an X-rated podcast, okay?
Whoa. Nothing X-rated was going on. Come on now, Dunk. You kicked me out of the hotel room to do this.
That's true. And I'm in the comfy confines of my home wearing a hat that doesn't make me look stupid at all. My favorite thing about one-size-fits-all hats is that my head kind of disproves that concept exists. But I'm enjoying the free souvenir, and I've been enjoying the Grey Cup in Winnipeg.
Is it a souvenir if you're in your own city?
Factually
It is
correct.
I like the home Grey Cup. Some reporters don't like the home Grey Cup. It's like, it's not the same. I love it. I like home. I mean, I love traveling for Grey Cup, but I love home Grey Cup too. I'm even just a positive guy, but I like getting to cart people around and know where all the best restaurants are. And then at the end of a long day, I like being able to crawl into my comfy bed and not have to worry about anything. So I'm enjoying the home Grey Cup. I'm happy as a clam.
Well, speaking of heads, I've got to take you both to task for a second because I got myself all nice and trim after getting a lot of flack for my hair all year long for Grey Cup. And I have not heard a single thing from either one of you. In fact, the only person who has noticed or complimented me is Nathan Rourke after winning MOP. He took the time and you guys haven't, so I'm very disappointed.
Because that's just how it should be, bro. You don't get compliments for expectations.
Oh, substandard hair all year long. I've made the improvement for a critical game day.
I think you have very nice hair now, JC. And Justin, the reason we don't comment on your haircuts is because you get one every 72 hours.
I never said you had to. JC's out here asking for compliments.
I know. I'm just teasing you about your proclivity for getting haircuts off the door. Then again, I shave my head every 3 to 4 days. So I guess one could argue I do the same.
It's a little bit different. Hodge.
A little bit.
Your head is, kind of similar. You might have the same routine as Stewart Johnston, who gave his first State of the League address as CFL commissioner, which came less than 3 months after he announced major changes to the Canadian Football League game. How do you think he did up there on the podium all by himself?
I'd give him a solid B, I think, is the grade that I've landed on. It certainly wasn't an A+, and we'll get into why, but this also was the best commissioner's address that I've heard in a long time, certainly since I've been covering Grey Cups in person, and I think even before that, watching him on the stream. We'll start off with the positives. I thought he did a great job of something that we talked about on this show, right? Just giving a little more reassurance to fans about these changes, right? There was rampant speculation and I think a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety that, these changes are just the first step. And, by 2035, we're going to be playing 4-down football. We're going to be playing NFL rules, blah, blah, blah. And so I thought he did a great job of saying, you know what? I wasn't clear enough when I addressed the media about these changes back in September. I should have championed our game more. We are 3 downs. I am guaranteeing we are 3 downs. 12 players, 65 yards wide, unlimited motion, all those things. He said it in English, and then he said that in French. I thought that was a nice touch. That was a high point for me. He's introducing a new website, a new app, and a season-long fantasy football game. Those are all big pluses. These are all things that probably should have been done in 2015, but you can't control the fact that these haven't happened in the last 10 years. Stewart Johnston is a new commissioner. That's not his fault. I give him applause for coming in. I just hope that the rollout for these goes better than the stats rollout. I thought that he did a nice job of recognizing that the stats rollout was not good enough. The website's outages that have happened are not good enough. The stats are not good enough. I think one of the ways that you can build some fan confidence is just by acknowledging, hey, we've had shortcomings, right? That's not a bad thing to say. Everybody can be better. The players can be better. The coaches can be better. The media can be better. The league can be better, right? There's nothing wrong with saying we haven't always lived up to a standard. We ought to hold ourselves to a high standard. Boom. I thought that was positive. I thought he did a nice job of talking about the replay center, talking about how they're going to review it. He said that the agenda for the league's meetings in January is going to be public. I thought that was really good for transparency. I thought his answer about match fixing had some transparency to it. And I thought that his explanation for some of the rule changes, kind of talking about how they were his impetus in a way, but saying we're focusing on what we're calling the structure of the rule changes. We're going to leave the technical to the rules committee. Those are all positives. The negatives for me, guys, JC, you had two great questions about the coaches cap. I thought Stewart did an okay job with the first one. The second was horrible. Basically, he just doubled down on, well, these rule changes are really positive and coaches are excited about them. And it's like, that was not the question. The question was, is the CFL losing quality coaches and great ideas and innovation by capping not only the number of coaches you can have, but how much they could be paid? I thought that was a little disappointing. And I also thought that he didn't do a good enough of a job speaking to the people who are still anti-rule changes. If you just listen to what Stewart said, I feel like you'd think that these rule changes were universally loved. He acknowledged that, yeah, Nathan Rourke doesn't like them, Mike O'Shea doesn't like them, fair enough. But I thought this was an opportunity to say to the fans who don't like the rule changes, hey, listen, we hear you. I know that not everyone's a fan of them, but we want to win you over. Please give them a chance. We love that you love the CFL, and I promise you that in time, you're going to love these changes, right? Something to that effect. Instead, he almost seemed like he didn't even want to talk about the fact that there's been some pushback, which was surprising because there's been a lot, as anybody who's spent any time on social media or answering emails from CFL fans and those types of things knows. So more good than bad, but I do think there's room for improvement here for Mr. Johnston.
I had really high expectations for Stewart Johnston's first State of the League address because he comes across so polished, and I think he's done a good job, whether you agree with his decisions or not, to this point in his commissionership, of presenting the league as a first-class institution, of projecting professionalism, of doing all the things that Randy Ambrosie didn't do during his tenure in terms of being prepared and on point and polished. And a lot of those things continued in this address, but I came away quite disappointed, gentlemen, because I felt it was all very political. He had his talking points, and he rarely, if ever, deviated from them. And I think you saw that in some of the non-answers, specifically the football ops question, but also when it came to the rule change questions. He didn't dive deep. He didn't deviate. He said the same things over and over and over again without a lot of genuine thought behind them. It was clear that he knew what he was going to say and he did not want to trip over his words. Fairness to him, that's a good thing to do as a commissioner, but I think people were expecting more humanity, more reflection from him than they got, and more genuine transparency, because in a lot of the things he's done as a commissioner, that has been a focus. I did not see that as much as I expected to today, and so I graded out as a solid B minus maybe for a commissioner's address, but certainly not as high as I was hoping to grade it coming into the day.
You guys have given your points very well. I'll drill down on a couple, okay? He gave somewhat of a guarantee that the league is not going to go to 3 downs. And I thought on the plus side for Stewart Johnston, what he talked about in regard to potential United States expansion and the 10th team in Canada was illuminating. I thought there was some detail there. He essentially said that, and if we take him at his word, the CFL is not planning for United States expansion because of these rule changes, the major ones that they're going to implement in 2027. And he went into detail about Quebec City, calling it essentially a great football market with a fan base there for the Laval Rouge et Or, complimenting Jacques Tanguay that he had created that fan base there from essentially nothing. That program only started, for people that don't know, in 1996 and has already won 12 Vanier Cups and has a great fan base at TELUS Stadium that is usually packed and sold out, at least from a capacity perspective. It's just over 12,000 in terms of seats, but you can get up to 20,000 for standing room only if you add it all up, even over 20,000 for standing room only. So it did seem to me like Quebec City seems intriguing for the Canadian Football League, but We've heard from Tanguay in the past. I believe it was just a couple of years ago where he said he didn't think the appetite was there or the infrastructure for a CFL team in Quebec City, but he said perhaps one day. So maybe that speaks to Randy Ambrosie's inability to go about it the right way. Perhaps Stewart Johnston has a better shot there. Because I think you're looking at all the different factors, guys, that Quebec City makes the most sense for a lot of reasons. So I don't want to go too far down that road until we get some more information, if indeed that is a real possibility for the CFL. But when you talk expansion, the number one question that you have to answer is stadium. And there's no doubt that that stadium there could host a CFL team. The facilities are great. There's an indoor field literally right beside the outdoor field. I've been there multiple times for Vanier Cups to cover the Laval Rougier or other teams in the game, and it's always been sold out. Like that Quebec City crowd comes out loud and proud, even if their team isn't in the game. Hodge, I know you've been there as well to check it out and see it. And I feel like a lot of people in Canadian football, I was doing a hit with Sportsnet 960 out in Calgary, don't necessarily know what it's like there. So the more I talked about it during that segment and even here, it makes more and more sense when you think about it. You know, the natural rivalry there with the Montreal Alouettes, but then you have to ask the question, would Pierre-Karl Pelado want it? So I thought that at least Stewart Johnston gave a legitimate answer on U.S. expansion. It doesn't seem like that's the direction they want to go. I'm paraphrasing his quote, but it does seem like Quebec City could be intriguing.
Yeah, I'll add one more thought. I asked about the global program, which was a pet issue for Randy Ambrosie. Now, it is baked into the CBA. The CFL players, and by the way, the PA has the opportunity to opt out of the CBA after 2027. So a lot of people are saying, well, but we got 4 more years of labor harmony.
No,
in the CFL,
not after 27. Solomon Element said before 2027.
Oh, my apologies.
Before the 2027 season.
After 2026. My apologies. We might have labor peace in the CFL through 2029. That is not a guarantee. We could be going to the bargaining table in a year from now, a little over a year from now. So thank you for that quick correction, gentlemen. But as for the global program, it is in the CBA, but I love that Stewart Johnston said, I am focused on Canada, right? He didn't say, and I don't care about the globals. It seems like he's supportive of the globals, but it was refreshing to hear the commissioner of the CFL, the Canadian Football League, say, I'm focused on Canada. Because the reality is, when you look at the polling, we've got literally tens of millions of Canadians who don't really know what the CFL is or care about the CFL. And it feels foolish to say, you know what? Our focus is not going to be getting those people into the game. Our focus is going to be people in Mexico and Finland and Japan, because they might become CFL fans. It's like points for optimism. I just think maybe a little closer than that. Like maybe Burlington, Ontario, and Brampton, Ontario, and Victoria, BC, and Red Deer, Alberta. Like these are maybe places where we should be focusing. But I digress. All in all, again, a solid B for me, B- for JC. Dunk, you want to put a grade on it before we go?
I was kind of thinking somewhere in that B range.
Okay. Fair enough. The CFL awards were given out on Thursday night as Nathan Rourke won Most Outstanding Player and Most Outstanding Canadian. Jamarcus Hardrick won Most Outstanding Offensive Lineman. Matthew Betts won Most Outstanding Defensive Player. And Trey Vavel won Most Outstanding Special Teams Player and Most Outstanding Rookie. Was there anything that the voters got wrong?
There absolutely was. And I'm not even talking about Most Outstanding Defensive Player, where the top 2 candidates didn't even get out of the team phase, and Jalen Hutchings from the Calgary Stampeders and Tyrese Beverett from the Montreal Alouettes.
Haven't you talked about this before?
We have, but it's clearly an error. And I'm saying I don't blame voters at the national stage because they didn't have those options. The one I do think was an error from voters at the national stage was Most Outstanding Special Teams Player. And Trey Vavel had an exceptional season. And I understand selecting him for Most Outstanding Rookie over Devin Veresuk, even though Devin Veresuk played a little bit more. He was a starter on defense. I think Vavel did some incredible things in terms of the 4 return touchdowns, also contributor on defense. I can forgive that one. But what Lirim Hajrullahu did as a kicker for the Toronto Argonauts this season is something we have not seen in CFL history from a kicker. The amount of kicks that he made from outside of 50 yards was a league all-time record. And to me, Vavel may have led the CFL in total return touchdowns, but he wasn't the average leader in average punt return yards or kickoff return yards. He got lucky on some occasions because he had more missed field goal returns come his way than other players did. We know they can be explosive plays, so he racked up yards and touchdowns that way. I don't know that you can replicate that. I'm not trying to take away anything from what Vavel did, but Liram Hajrullahu production this year was historic. And I think the voters got it wrong in that particular category.
The voters got it right at the national level. I'll say one thing. Let's see some Trey Vavel on offense, boy.
Maybe the best part of the broadcast for me, other than Dylan, 10-year-old who was there and had maybe the best line of the night, where when Kate Burness said, "And the Saskatchewan Roughriders," and she says, "No, thank you." Oh my God, that was so funny. And Chris Walby, who tore the house down, was hilarious as always. To me, the best part was when Trey Vavel was asked, are you going to play on offense? And he was like, "I'm a terrible route runner," which is like, wow, you don't often hear players just give it straight like that, right? I think a lot of DBs in the back of their minds are like, yeah, I could be a 1,000-yard receiver. A lot of O linemen are like, yeah, I could rush the passer. A lot of linebackers are like, I could be a QB. So I love that Trey Vavel knows who and what he is, which is still a very good player. To me, I voted not for Matthew Betts. I voted for Julian Hauser. I thought he was more consistent. I thought he was a better defensive player this year. Matthew Betts had the highest peaks, but I thought he disappeared for stretches. So that is why I voted for Hauser, who I thought had a more consistent season. That being said, I voted for all the other winners, and I certainly wasn't offended by Betts winning. Last thing I'll say on the awards is the closest vote among 53 national voters was at the rookie spot, where Trey Vavel got 36 of 53 votes. Everything else was more lopsided. The most lopsided was most outstanding Canadian, where Nathan Rourke won 50-3. With all due respect to Isaac Adiemi Berglund, who's a great player, the fact that he got 3 votes is a joke. That is 3 too many, but whatever. I want to just say my pitch again. I know I've said it before. I'll reiterate it quickly. The award should be 3 players up for it, and it should be regardless of division. The divisions were 8-0 last night, if you include the 2 non-most outstanding awards, the Tom Pate and the Jake Goddard. And for me, I would love to see no division attached to it, just have the 3 best guys available for each one, and that's that.
Preach, Jean-Auge. It's time for our 112th Grey Cup picks, fellas. The game's so big that I had to be here for this segment to dish it out to you buggers. I was going to say something else, but I'll save that for off camera. Andre Proulx has been named the head official for Sunday's Grey Cup between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Montreal Alouettes. The green and white are, and I hate when people do this, at the time of this taping on Friday afternoon, 3.5-point favorites. I see people in the YouTube comments all the time like, that's not the right line. It's like, yo, bro, this thing is taped, okay? Get with it. Davis Alexander's left hamstring was an issue in the East Final after he re-aggravated it. Alexander has been very forthright with it, continues to say, I'm feeling great. But we'll see in the game. That'll be the real true test. Who wins the CFL championship and who takes home Grey Cup MVP and most valuable Canadian?
I honestly think this has the potential, and I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want to be the jerk who jinxes it, but this has a potential to be an all-time Grey Cup. Like, these are 2 top teams playing really good football heading into this one. You've got Davis Alexander, a rising star, versus a grizzly vet in Trevor Harris, who could be playing his last CFL game. We don't know. And 2 great defenses, 2 great returners, right? I think you give the slight edge to the Alouettes on special teams, but I think you might give the slight edge to the Riders on offense. I think the Riders receivers are a little more explosive. And obviously, again, Alexander's not 100%. That being said, earlier this week when we recorded, boys, I said that I'm going to pick the Montreal Alouettes if Davis Alexander's hamstring looked, again, not 100%, but looked good, if he wasn't too affected. And thus far, based on practice, it seems like Alexander is ahead of schedule. The hamstring is better than they feared it would be. And therefore, I'm certainly taking the Montreal Alouettes against the spread. And I am actually going to take them to win this game straight up. Alexander will be my MVP pick. My most valuable Canadian pick is Tyson Philpott, a guy who I think could be the highest paid Canadian receiver in the CFL in 2026.
Well, Davis Alexander has impressed me this week. He's looked good, cleaning his drops in practice. He runs
JC,
around.
You talking about practice? You out here talking about practice, not a game.
That's exactly the point I'm going to make. If you let me finish, Dunk. Come on, take off the green glasses for a second, buddy.
Yeah, you're wearing a green hoodie. No, that green with envy,
That's
baby.
factually incorrect. This is not a hoodie. This is a quarter zip, and it's turquoise. Jean?
Turquoise is mostly green.
It's a mix of blue and green last time I checked.
Davis Alexander is moving around without a noticeable limp, but to Dunk's point, practice is different than a game. And I was never concerned about how he was going to look in practice. I was concerned about what's going to happen when he has to change directions quickly or make a sudden movement like he did late in that East final when he re-aggravated that injury. And I think he's going to have to do that an awful lot in this game because that Saskatchewan Roughriders pass rush is the real deal. They will get after him. I look at these two teams. I love each of their mentalities. I think they are tightly matched, but there is just something about the Roughriders right now that I cannot dismiss. They have a mentality. They have a togetherness. They have a sense of purpose that is as good as any team that I've seen in my short time covering Grey Cup games. And most importantly, I think they are by far the deepest team in the CFL. Doesn't matter who plays for them. I don't care if Keyshawn Johnson can't suit up. I don't care if a guy goes down in the game because they've got a backup at every single position who's just as good as the starter. If you can't win a Grey Cup like that, I don't know when you can win a Grey Cup. So I think Corey Mace takes home his first here. I will go with a chalk MVP pick. I think it's going to be Trevor Harris as the MVP of this game at 39 years old, cementing his legacy. And then the MVC, I thought about Sam Emilus. I think that makes a lot of sense. I thought about Keon Schaefer-Baker. That makes a lot of sense. Tavon Campbell gets a pick 6 in this game, and he takes home the MVC after his tremendous season back from the NFL.
That's how you do it, John Chalk Hodge. JC Abbott going out here on an edge.
How is he going out on an edge picking the favorite to win?
He's picking Tavon Campbell to have a pick 6 in the game, bro.
Oh, fair enough. Well, Tavon Campbell
You're sitting here like, yeah, Davis Alexander MVP and Tyson Philpott MVP. Come on, bro.
Okay, well, then I will change my pick.
I'm not saying you have to change it. I'm just saying you're chalk.
Offensive lineman Landon Rice as my most valuable Canadian, and I'm going to have a long snapper LP Barasa as my most valuable player. How's that? How's them apples?
You're on the record.
Turquoise.
Indeed, bro. It is turquoise. I'm not going to give a pick, but I just want to point one thing out. I think both teams, you know why. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah, because you're soft.
I'm just little. It's cold out here, man. Okay?
Are you just a little wiener, Dunk?
I didn't say that.
You have said that.
Not this time. Yes. I do think both teams can win this football game. It seems like it could be close, go down to the wire. But we just don't know how Davis Alexander's hamstring is going to respond. And there's no doubt that he looked like a different quarterback in the East Final after re-aggravating it. I'm not saying he's going to for sure, but that's a major factor in this football game. And on the Riders' side, you know, I get the sense being around them. JC laid it out well, but also to take it to another level. The Riders are sitting here going, okay, who do we beat in the West Final? Nathan Rourke, dual award winner, MOP, had the greatest season arguably ever by a Canadian quarterback and has been more prolific than Davis Alexander in 2025. Yes, he played more games, but even if you break it down on a per-game basis, that's a fact. So the Riders, I can see them on defense saying, like, why is everybody so concerned about Davis Alexander this, Davis Alexander that? He hasn't lost a game. Keep the streak going. And using that as motivation to win the Grey Cup. Now, I'm not saying they're going to. I'm just saying that I think that's really flying under the radar. It hasn't been talked about enough. Davis Alexander has been spectacular, fellas. When he is on the field for this Alouettes team, there is no doubt about it. They are a completely different team, dare I say a dominant team. Like, I look at the turnover difference, okay? When Davis Alexander has started football games, including playoffs this year for the Alouettes, their turnover differential is plus 19. When it's not him at quarterback, it's minus 10. Like, that is absolutely game-changing, especially in a Grey Cup, which is why I think this could be, as I think Hodge said earlier, an all-time matchup.
Yeah, I think if they play this Grey Cup 10 times, I think they split it 5 each. Like, I think both of these teams, having spent time around them all week, they both seem like veteran-savvy groups, but with, like, energetic upside. They both feel like they've been here before. They both feel like they're dialed in, but they're also loose. Like neither of these teams doesn't feel like a championship team is the point I'm trying to make. They both feel like they're here, they're arrived, they're playing their best ball, they're confident, but they're not cocky. Like, that is why I feel like this could be such a great game. And again, if they play this game, last year's Grey Cup, years prior, there's been times where it's like, okay, I think we all know what the most likely outcome is here. Obviously, anything can happen in a CFL game. But this year, I really feel like this is a toss-up. This is a 50-50 type of game. And I can't wait to see how it turns out. I think there's a small chance it's a blowout one way or the other, but far more likely it's going to be a close one and, dare I say, an instant classic.
To that point, if Davis Alexander re-injures or re-aggravates or strains his hamstring, I think that's where the blowout could come into play. But let me just run down these numbers because they're honestly unbelievable. Davis Alexander has started with the Alouettes in 2025, regular season, postseason, 9-0 record, averaging 33.2 points per game versus when the other quarterback started 18.8, 405.7 net yards offense per game compared to 291 when the other quarterbacks start. Like, that's unbelievable, undeniable, but a lot is riding on that left hamstring. So hopefully the stimulation therapy, the massage that he's getting, the ice, the activation that he's doing, some of the workout stuff he talked about helps Davis Alexander be at his best, because that's ultimately what the media and the fans and the league want to see. You want to see best on best. I think we have it in this Grey Cup. I believe the two best teams in the Canadian Football League in 2025 are playing. We just need Davis Alexander to be 90-95% to see a great classic Grey Cup unfold.
A huge thank you to all of our listeners, all of our readers who have come up and said hi this week. I had several people at the after party at the awards come up to me and say how much they love the pod, or they come to our site every single day. We super appreciate it. If you see any of us kicking it around over the next few days, the last few days of Grey Cup, please obviously come up and say hello. We'd love to meet you, chat with you, and thank you for all of your support. For JC Abbott and Justin Dunk, I'm John Hodge. Sign up for our newsletter, which is the most popular newsletter on planet Earth. We love it. It's the best thing that you could possibly do with your life, and that's a John Hodge guarantee. We'll see you next time on the 3DownNation podcast.